Amanda, welcome. You have written this wonderful story about drones for the magazine, and reading it, I could not help but wonder, do you own a drone?
Ah, good question. I can't tell you that. No, I'm kidding. No, I don't own one. I can now see the benefit of one. I can, mostly from a camera point of view. Like the ability to capture footage from the sky like that is very cool. So I might own one by Christmas.
You might get one by Christmas, all right. Yeah. I think all of us are kind of aware that, drones are a thing that's happening, and you sort of increasingly encounter these one-off news items where like a drone crashed into this thing or this person. But your story sort of brings all that together, like kind of paints this picture of all this drone mischief that's happening. And I was wondering if there was a moment where that all kind of like crystallized for you.
There was about a week or so in the spring of last year where within just a few days, the FAA approved Amazon's testing with drones for delivering packages, and a drone delivered slight amounts of radioactive material on the roof of the Japanese Prime Minister's office, and a drone attempted to deliver contraband into a US prison. And these were all separate stories, separate headlines, but it seemed like things were going to get interesting.
Yeah.
And so it seemed like something, all of this happening very quickly had to lead to interesting human responses.
Is there a technical definition of a drone? And because I always wonder, what makes some of our space probes not drones?
That's a great question. That's not a question that you get every day. I think there is a real shortage of vocabulary for describing drones. And part of the challenge is that one word describes a predator drone, a military device that is huge and very dangerous, all the way down to what is essentially a remote control helicopter, right? That's tiny. So it's been challenging to figure out how to talk about drones. For a while, the drone enthusiast world was trying to get reporters to call them UAVs or UASs, unmanned aerial systems. And it doesn't roll off the tongue.
No.
So it didn't work. And there's sort of been, that opportunity's over, and now everyone's just calling them drones. Some people have floated new ideas, like calling them, flying cameras, or like basically flying selfie sticks. I mean, there are, because eventually most of the ones that regular people are going to buy are going to be cameras that are remote.
So you said selfie sticks, and that made me wonder if it might one day be possible to have a drone hovering above you all the time, filming you, like the ultimate selfie stick.
I am here to tell you, good or bad, that already exists.
Whoa.
And it will be coming soon to a neighbor near you. And so it is, usually they're kind of tethered virtually to your phone, so they can follow you around. If you've been to a ski slope in the last several years, you'll notice that a majority of the people, especially men in my opinion, have GoPro cameras right on their helmets.
Yeah.
And so I'm assuming the same will be attempted with these drones, because it's much, much better footage, particularly for the narcissist, if you're in the shot,
sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So there will be a whole nother level of challenges about how to manage that, because until drones are able to sense and avoid other objects, trees, each other, people, that's gonna be tricky to pull off.
Tell me about some of the anti-drone tech that's being developed. It seems like there's a weird arms race that's going on.
Definitely. So once you have a proliferation of these small devices flying through the air, then there's a demand for ways to control them, ways to deter and detect them, right? So some of the things that exist already are devices that help you detect the sound of a drone. So it'll send you an alert and say there's a drone approaching, because they do have a fairly unique sound. And it's hard to hide that sound without messing with the performance of the drone. So there have been early efforts to create drones, like counter drones, that will go into the air and net the rogue drone that you don't want. What some agencies will attempt to do, and I think probably are attempting to do, is to jam the signals of drones. That's illegal for most people, for you and I, for prisons, for vast majority of people in the US. But it is legal with a permission in certain security agencies. So the problem with that, of course, is that you jam all the signals for everyone in the area, including for people who need to call 911 on their cell phones.
Do you think there's going to come a day when, anti-drone tech is just sort of part of the urban environment?
I think so. I mean, right now we have things like ShotSpotter, I think it's called, which I wasn't aware of until now, but most urban police departments have these devices that alert them when they hear a gunshot. They have a lot of false positives, unfortunately, so they're not the best. But I think you'll probably see some of that with drones, particularly right now where most of this is going is actually executive protection. Like, rich people, celebrities who are worried about their privacy. And so you're seeing a lot of early investments being made by individuals.
Although there are very serious dangers associated with drones, a lot of it is like irritating or invasions of privacy and things of that nature. Yeah. Did you feel a sort of intense empathy with people in parts of the world where like a drone hovering above is like a genuine threat to your life?
We sort of took this approach of let's take a wild cruise through the latest technology and strategies in dealing with drones. But then, of course, in the background of all of this are military drones, and they're very different things, right? And luckily for Americans, we haven't yet experienced the psychological impact of the drone sound when it's associated with death. I think there's a chance that will come. We've already used these drones, military drones, domestically to find people and do surveillance. That's going to be a very controversial space. Already there are big fights about police departments needing to get warrants or not needing to get warrants to use drones for surveillance. So yeah, I mean, I felt, I definitely felt like we needed to find some way to connect these two things, and yet there was no obvious connection. A lot of the drones that I'm talking about that you buy at Best Buy, those were not invented by the military. So they were really invented by hobbyists, a lot of the devices. That's how it began. So there is a strange kind of schizophrenic nature to talking about drones right now because of the different ways that they're used.